All right, guys, welcome to this class. Thank you for joining. And I hope you can see my screen okay. You can hear me okay. So my name is David, and today we are going to talk about the holiday tradition that we have in France and in other French-speaking countries. And we'll see how those traditions have similar aspects and differences with your traditions probably, okay? So what I recommend during this class is, of course, since it's going to be a cultural topic, there'll be a lot of listening involved, but I will try to incorporate as much French and language skills as possible for you during this topic. So I invite you first to listen to the new words you may come across that we'll be using that are specific to this topic, right? December, New Year, and Christmas, and see how this vocab, these new words are pronounced. And then I invite you to repeat, to say things out loud at home, okay, right after I say them, so you can confront your pronunciation with mine, all right? And I invite you also to take notes or type on a notepad or Word document on the side, or even in the Q&A box or the chat box, in order to acquire this vocab, this spelling, okay? If you combine those three activities, listening, speaking, and writing, this will optimize your vocab acquisition throughout this class. Okay, now let's see what we're going to talk about. We're going to discuss how December looks like in France, okay? We're going to talk about this month of Décembre en France. Then we're going to talk about Noël et Jour de l'An en France. Noël being Christmas, Jour de l'An being New Year's Day, and how we celebrate this. And we will discuss those holidays, les fêtes de fin d'année, so the end of year celebrations, as we say in French, les fêtes de fin d'année dans le monde francophone, okay? Because French is not only spoken in France. So we'll see how those traditions have local aspects, okay? All right, let's get started with what we have in France all over in December, les illuminations, those Christmas lights, okay? In all French cities, okay? We have this is a picture of Lille in the north of France. This is the famous Champs-Élysées Avenue, okay? That was lit up in red this year. And we also have a very important city for Christmas in France, which is the city of Strasbourg in Alsace, so border with Germany. And we'll see why this city is important in terms of Christmas traditions. So in France, we have, just like in many countries around the world, those lights showing up in the streets, and that's part of the magic of Christmas. The aspect that's interesting is that part of the lighting is taken care of by each city in France, and another aspect is another part of the lighting is entitled to the private sector. So you will have like small local organizations of shop owners who will put together a budget to have their streets lighted up for Christmas, and they will make sure that the consumers know that too, okay? So it's part public and part private, which is a regular aspect of the French economy, by the way, okay? All right, so this illumination that we love also go with les vitrines de Noël. Les vitrines is the storefront, okay? Les vitrines de Noël. So, of course, storefronts have have like different like wintry feels and products on display. But when we say les vitrines de Noël, we're not talking about storefronts that are selling anything. It's just part of enhanced beauty and magic, mostly for children. And this is something that the main department stores in France compete on. Okay, we have les Galeries Lafayette, we have Le Printemps, and we have le BHV, le Bazar de l'Hôtel de Ville. So those are the pictures that you can see in Paris, but they are in all major cities around France. Okay, so this is basically very beautiful scenes, right, and automated animations on display for the kids and grown-ups as well to enjoy. It's really a ritual for any French family. There's a moment, it's usually on the weekend, where we are going to go see les vitrines de Noël, all right? Similar to what you have in New York to some extent. Now we also have something that's been exported in many countries around the world, and we've imported it ourselves from Germany. We got inspired by the Germans. Those are what we call the Christmas markets, les marchés de Noël. Okay, and so those came from Alsace, which borders Germany. And so the city of Strasbourg that I mentioned a minute ago was the first city to set up those Christmas markets in France. And due to its popularity, because you had many people around France traveling, especially to Strasbourg to see those markets, those marchés, then other cities around France decided to do this. Okay, so let me show you what Marché de Noël looks like. Okay, so this is a very long video, but I picked an extract. So it's basically people walking around the streets, and we have, we will find several kiosks that we call chalets, which are like wooden houses. Okay, we're trying to recreate the atmosphere, the feel of the mountain. It's all about snow, winter, and feeling warm inside. Okay, so in those little kiosks, in those tiny wooden shops, you will see all sorts of arts and crafts, lots of food being sold, a traditional drink that we have, which is le vin chaud, as you can see. Vin chaud is basically hot wine. So it's wine that's a little stronger because it's warmed up. So the fumes, the vapor hit you a little harder. And what we see also in those markets are just basically the pleasure of being together. Okay, you don't really buy a lot of things. Some people may shop, but it's more like just walking around, having a little snack here, a little drink there, and enjoying the atmosphere of it. Okay. All right. By the way, we will have a Q&A break halfway through this webinar, and we'll have a second Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So if you have any question, feel free to type them in the chat box, or preferably in the Q&A portion of this Zoom access that you have. Okay, and I will review all your questions and answer them during those breaks. All right, so let's continue this time with what we have in terms of other features. Let me just move this one sec. All right. So Décembre en France is beyond those traditional magic setups of lights and markets. It's also about gifting. And what do you gift in France? You gift du chocolat et des confiseries. Confiserie is all sorts of sweets, okay? So you gift that to your neighbor, to your teacher, to your co-workers, your boss, anyone you appreciate and you like, because we don't have a Thanksgiving in France. So it's the moment of the year in December where we're expressing how grateful and thankful we are. And we show that with sweetness and sweet food. Okay, so the hits here that I compiled for you are les truffes, truffles, okay, but chocolate ones, very strong in terms of dark chocolate, and there's also cocoa powder around it. It's delicious, and the best ones are not from France. Actually, we usually give as a gift. We usually gift the truffe from Belgium or Switzerland. They're considered for the French people as the best ones. Les marrons glacés. Those are like candied chestnuts. Okay, there's a lot going on in December about les marrons, the chestnuts. Okay, and we have them as I said, like candied like this, les marrons glacés. We also roast them. You will find many people selling them in the street, little stands, and we also use that during the Christmas lunch and dinner. So we'll talk about les marrons again in a minute. And we have one of my favorites, les mon chéri. Les mon chéri have a very sweet name. Okay, it means my love, honey, mon chéri. And it's basically chocolate with liquor and a sweet cherry inside. So it's a little challenging to eat. Okay, when you bite on it, it may just spill all over your shirt. So make sure that you take the entire small chocolate in your mouth when you chew on it. Okay, it's very good, very sweet, and it's a typical Christmas season gift. Okay, and the other hit, very French, is the escargot en chocolat. Okay, we will talk again about those snails that we French love, but we also make them as a shape for chocolate, and they're stuffed with chocolate. They're delicious. Les escargots en chocolat. All right, so those are the type of gifts that you may get or gift yourself to someone you like throughout the months of December. All right, now let's talk more specifically about the two highlights of this month of December, Noel, which is Christmas, et le jour de l'an, the day of the year, okay, New Year's Day. All right, so we're going to make a distinction between the eve, le réveillon. Okay, the eve technically in terms of language is la veille, but le réveillon is the party on the eve, okay? And there's even a verb about this, like to party on the eve of Christmas would be réveillonner, all right? If I want to know if your Christmas Eve party went well, I could ask you, tu as bien réveillonné? Did you party well on the eve of Christmas? So le réveillon de Noël is le 24 décembre, okay? Whereas le jour de Noël is le 25 décembre, okay? So keyword here, le réveillon. And you will notice the pronunciation of this word. Double L in French accounts for a Y sound. So feel free to say it out loud after me. Le réveillon. Le réveillon with a on nasal sound. Le réveillon de Noël. Awesome. And this word, Noël, okay? Noël. Noël. All right. Great. Now let's see how this unfolds for New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. So again, New Year's Eve is going to be le réveillon du jour de l'an. I know it's a little long. The eve of the day of the year, technically, literally, le réveillon du jour de l'an. But you know that France has a long Catholic history and tradition, and every day of the calendar in France corresponds to a saint, right? Like a protector for each day. And actually, when you live in France, that's tradition that's kind of being lost because religions are kind of not so trendy in France at the moment. But I would say like 20, 30 years ago, it was very common to check whose saint it was on a given day and say that if you know, for example, someone who's named Christopher and it's Saint Christophe today, you will wish him happy Saint Christophe, okay? Or just bonne fête because it's his day, right? I remember that Saint David is December 29th, for example, but no one says it to me anymore because it's not a tradition that we kept. All right, but we still remember the name of the 31st of December, which is La Saint Sylvestre, Saint Sylvester. Okay, so it's a synonym. People will either say La Saint Sylvestre or le réveillon du jour de l'an, because that helps us distinguish this from New Year's Day, which is le jour de l'an, which is le 1er janvier. Okay? So again, le réveillon du jour de l'an or la Saint Sylvestre. Very nasal sound again on Saint. And le jour de l'an, an. A-N sounds just like E-N in French, right? Le jour de l'an. Très bien. Okay, and what do we say during those days? These are the expressions you can use. You can say Joyeux Noël, Joyeux Noël, with an X that you don't pronounce. Joyeux Noël, that's Merry Christmas. Or you will say Bonne année, good year, literally. Une année is feminine, so you say Bonne année. Un an is a year as well, but this one is masculine. Un an, okay? So, Joyeux Noël on le 25 décembre et le 1er janvier, bonne année, okay? And then when you want to express like mainly in a professional setting, when you want to say, when you want to wish to your coworkers or clients or partners, I wish you the best, all the best for 2021, for example. In French, we say just best wishes, and we say meilleurs vœux. So this one is challenging to pronounce. Let me say it one more time with you. Meilleurs vœux. Okay, it's spelled in a very complicated way, but just to have a E sound. So one more time. Meilleurs vœux. Say it out loud. Awesome. Meilleurs vœux. Okay, so this is considered an expression that you can say from January 1 to January 31st. Okay, if you are not frequently in touch with a business contact of yours, and you happen to send this person an email on January 25, it's correct if you have not communicated with that person before the beginning of the new year, it's correct to start your email by saying meilleurs vœux for 2021, okay? But if this first check-in or touch base happens after January 31st, say on February 3, it's too late to say meilleurs vœux. Never mind, you skipped it and you wish him best wishes on the following year, all right? Okay, so those are the expressions we want to use during that time of the year. Now let's talk about food, but we need to make a distinction between our tradition when I say what we do in France, because in France, we have La France métropolitaine, okay, which is what we commonly refer to as France. But France also has like overseas territories, okay, that we call les dom-tom. And those are mainly in the Caribbean, in the Indian Ocean, after like on the west of Australia. So those are latitudes that have very different climates and traditions, okay? We call them les dom-tom, which stands for les départements d'outre-mer, the regions, the states from overseas, basically, or les territoires d'outre-mer for tom, okay? So overseas territories. They're basically ex-colonies that never asked or never managed to get become independent. So they are now part of the French government. Okay, like the French government rules on those territories. You will find all the nationwide services that you have in Paris or other cities of France in those local territories, like postal services, utilities, etc., schools. But they will have different traditions. So we will mention those at some point. Okay, but when I will refer to what we do in France, I just want to clarify that I'm talking about La France métropolitaine. Okay, all right. So let's talk about food. Let's see what we have en France métropolitaine as starters. And here we're coming across a false cognate, okay? Something that can be very confusing. That confused me a lot in the beginning when I was ordering in the US. I did not understand why entrees were so expensive compared to starters. And it's just because in French, une entrée is a starter, an appetizer, okay? So this is what we have in France for appetizers. And that's really something that you can have either on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, okay? Those are just the traditional foods we will have at any time during those celebrations. There's lots of fish and seafood. Le saumon fumé. Le saumon fumé. What else do we have? We have seafood. In French, seafood is sea fruits, okay? Les fruits de mer. So un plateau de fruits de mer. It's like a big plate with kind of an assortment. And the star usually of those appetizer are les huîtres, okay? People will buy them directly from the fishermen. Everyone in France has his favorite provider. You usually have lots of food poisoning because people don't know how to store them properly. Sometimes people get hurt because they open them themselves. So it's really a DIY process in France, the thing of les huîtres. And so December is a month that is very famous for all sorts of documentaries and articles to remind people how to handle this thing of les huîtres, oysters, okay? And the liaison here, les huîtres, okay? I ignore the H and I just make a liaison, les huîtres. So le saumon fumé, les plateaux de fruits de mer, les huîtres, very French, le foie gras, okay? Le foie gras, which we combine with sort of onion jam, sometimes a fig jam as well. So we add a little bit of spices too, pepper, salt, sometimes cumin. So there, people are very, very creative on how to serve foie gras toasts, okay? And it's considered very fancy, very rich too. So this is typical of the kind of excess meal we want to have on Christmas and Jour de l'An, okay? And les escargots de Bourgogne, my favorite, okay? Les escargots de Bourgogne have the best garlicky sauce inside. So it's like a buttery garlic, which really makes the escargot smell and taste delicious. Of course, the concept of eating snails may gross some of you, which I totally understand. Chewing on a snail is not the best feeling ever, but this sauce is so good that it makes you forget anything you're eating, honestly. And it's always a very fun process just to catch, look for a snail inside, etc. You have a special kind of a toothpick in metal. So I invite you to try that. Of course, we serve them all year long, but Noel and Jour de l'An are special occasions where we love having them for starters as well, okay? All right, and then we're going to have meals that are more typical of Christmas. Honestly, on Jour de l'An, you don't have a set main dish, okay, a main course. Um, Depending on your background, your family, your family tradition, you will have a big piece of meat, or you will have just a large fish, because usually it's just a big portion of something because it's a big table with many friends and family members around. But we do have a tradition on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. It's the turkey, okay? Because again, we don't have Thanksgiving, so we have it on Christmas, okay? La dinde de Noël, or le chapon. Le chapon, the translation to that in English is a capon. It's poultry as well, but it's smaller, okay? So la dinde is when you're hosting a large party, large dinner, and capon when it's a little smaller. So la dinde de Noël and la bûche de Noël. La bûche de Noël is a Christmas log, again, with chocolate. And it's basically like a rolled cake. Okay, so you have a flat cake, you put a layer of chocolate, and then you roll it. And you cover all around with chocolate. You make lots of nice decorations. I'm mentioning chocolate because it's the most common one, but you also have ganache. You also have all sorts of creams and flavors. And as you can see, very creative and beautiful decorations. We call this la bûche de Noël, and we're supposed to have it on Noël specifically, but we have it outside of Noël too. Okay, it's really the season when we have a slice of bûche as often as we can. All right. And now let's see what we listen to. What are traditional songs? Les chansons traditionnelles, mostly for children here, okay? Let me play a song which melody may sound familiar to you.
Sur le long chemin, tout blanc de neige blanche, un vieux monsieur s'avance, sa canne dans la main. Et tout là-haut le vent, qui siffle dans les branches, lui souffle la romance que chantait petit enfant. Oh, vive le vent, vive le vent, vive le vent d'hiver, qui s'en va en soufflant dans les grands sapins verts. Oh, vive le vent, vive le vent, vive le vent d'hiver, toute neige, toute blanc et bonne année grand-mère.
So this is our Jingle Bells, okay? And this is a very traditional song that all kids know in France. It's called Petit Papa Noël. Le Papa Noël or Le Père Noël is Santa Claus in French. And ironically, it's the most famous song for kids in France. And it was sung and written by Tino Rossi, who has Italian origins. So you will hear his pronunciation of the R sounding very Italian. Let's listen to him.
C'est la belle nuit de Noël, la neige étend son manteau blanc, et les yeux levés vers le ciel, à genoux les petits enfants, avant de fermer les paupières, font une dernière prière. Petit Papa Noël, quand tu descendras du ciel, avec des jouets par milliers, n'oublie pas mon petit soulier, mais avant de partir, il faudra bien te couvrir. Dehors, tu vas avoir si froid. C'est un peu à cause de moi.
right. So this is Petit Papa Noël by Tino Rossi. And this is the most famous song for kids in this season. All right. Okay, let's take a short break for your questions, guys. Let's see. Let's see what questions you guys came up with. If I can access this. All right. The class is going to be 35 to 40 minutes long. This was a question in the chat. Okay. Let me see where I can get the Q&A. Okay, let's see those great questions you guys came up with. Why is there a la before la Saint-Sylvestre? Very good question. I will type answers as I explain this. So la because it's la fête de la Saint-Sylvestre. Okay. This is why la Saint-Sylvestre is feminine. Okay. What does the word Noel actually mean besides Christmas? Many languages clearly indicate a connection with nativity, but I don't see that in Noel. And you are right. Noel does not have a religious meaning in this. Okay, Judith, that's a great question, but I cannot give you anything else as a in terms of etymology, because it's not a contraction of words. It's just called Noel. All right. So that's for this question. And we have a question from Christelle mentioning, what does Vive le vent mean? Okay, so Vive le vent is our translation of jingle bells, but actually it just means hooray to the wind. Okay, Vive le vent d'hiver. Hooray to, or yay, vive, like long live, le vent d'hiver, so the winter wind. So it's a way for us to celebrate the cold weather rather than complain about it. All right. So this is what we have for questions at this point. Thank you. So vive le vent. If I want to answer this question, I would say that it's just long live the wind of the winter. Okay. And so for Noel, there is no specific origin or meaning to the word. All right. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys, for those questions. We're going to continue, and if you have more questions throughout the rest of the presentation, go ahead, okay? All right, let me load this again. All right, let's continue. All right, so now we're going to talk about other traditional songs, but this time not for kids, more like for adults, okay? They're going to sound very cheesy to you, but that's what France is sometimes. Okay, so this one is from 80s band from the Alps mountain. So from this region of France, bordering Switzerland, and this is a big hit. It's called Étoile des Neiges, so snow star, snowflake.
Étoile des neiges, au cœur amoureux, c'est plus au piège de tes grands yeux. Je te donne en gage cette croix d'argent et de t'aimer toute la vie, j'en fais seulement.
All right, so this is Étoile des Neiges, very LVC-like from France. And we have another famous band from France but from not metropolitan France, as I was mentioning earlier, but from La Martinique. And this is called La Compagnie. This band is named La Compagnie Créole. And they have a Christmas song that brings sunshine to the French people, okay? Because what they're saying is like, they're sending us kisses from Fort-de-France, which is the capital city of La Martinique, of this region of France, that's in the Caribbean, right? And this is their Christmas song. So as you can see, it's going to be a very different atmosphere.
Joyeux Noël, bon baiser de Fort-de-France. Ce soir on éteint la télé. Ce soir ensemble on va chanter. Noël, joyeux Noël, bon baiser de Fort-de-France. Ce soir on éteint la télé. Ce soir ensemble on va chanter. Ici les champs recouverts de neige, on ne les connaît qu'en photo. Le Père Noël n'a pas de traîneau. Le fond de l'air est bien trop chaud.
All right. So this is a very different atmosphere, as you can see, in terms of songs, in terms of weather. Actually, in the lyrics, the singer is saying that the that Santa, le Père Noël, is not dressed the same way because it's way too hot here. Okay, and obviously it's going to have an impact on the food that is eaten outre-mer, okay, overseas in the French-speaking world. So we're going to see how those end-of-year celebration, les fêtes de fin d'année, unfold in other French-speaking countries outside of metropolitan France, okay? So we're going to start with l'outre-mer, okay, overseas. So technically and politically part of France, but again, in a very different climate. What they have is le jambon de Noël antillais. So les Antilles françaises in the Caribbean imported this tradition from the Americans, okay? And they added a little bit of pineapple to give it a local twist. So this is a Christmas ham that is roasted with pineapples and seasoned as well. And again, the pattern we can see here, and I think it's something that is quite universal when it comes to Christmas and New Year's celebration. It's that we want something abundant because it's about being together, sharing a meal together, okay? Even if the flavors and the ingredients are different. They also have this fascinating tradition, which is les pois d'Angole, peas, okay? Peas don't sound like a very festive meal for many people, but what they love here is the fact that these pois d'Angole are actually an entire tradition from collecting them, okay, from picking to cleaning and then like taking them out of their shell and then cooking and eating together. So in this title, I added a web link to a video that gives more details about les pois d'Angole, and there's an interview that is very interesting. So I will be sharing those notes as a PDF at the end of this webinar. Okay, so stay tuned and you'll be able to download this and have more information on les pois d'Angole and the tradition of sharing from, as I said, picking to eating this together. So very interesting. And then they do un pâté créole, un pâté, which is basically a dough with lots of rich elements like butter and lots of butter, actually. They also put chicken inside to stuff it, and they fold the entire dough on top of the chicken. And it's a very rich and tasty, savory tart, basically, that they have on Christmas Day or on New Year's Day. So it's called le pâté créole. Awesome. Now let's see what happens en Belgique, in Belgium, which is right north of France, okay, bordering France. Belgium celebrates Christmas with les tripes à la jotte, okay, which is basically boudin with, so like sausages stuffed with all sorts of things, and le chou vert. This is the specific part of Belgium, is that this is boudin with not cauliflower. How do you guys say that? Le chou is cabbage. Okay, so it's boudin with cabbage. Very interesting. I've never had it. Les cougnoux. Again, we're going back to the sweet aspect of this season. Okay, it's all about sweet things. In France, it's mostly focused on chocolate. It's going to be more bakery in Belgium with les cougnoux, which are those little cakes, sort of croissant, brioche. Okay, and they also have a typical type of crêpe that they call les bouquettes, which is a crêpe, so sort of a thin pancake with raisins and sugar. Very good. Now let's see how we celebrate Christmas en Suisse. So en Suisse, in Switzerland, that's also bordering France, we have a unique combination of things, because en Suisse, you will have the influence of the German traditions as well, because you know that Switzerland is a confederation of Germans, French, and Italians, right? But when it comes to Christmas traditions, even the French part of Switzerland follows suit to the German tradition. So they have an Advent calendar, but it's not with little windows for every day. It's with 4 candles. It's called l'Adventskranz, and it's 4 candles that you light every 2 Sundays, starting 1 month before Christmas. Okay, so this is how you light up your candles leading up to Christmas. All right, they also celebrate Sammy Claus, which is the German Santa Claus, okay? But it's not on December 25, it's on December 6. And they have this tradition of les Rabelichli. Les Rabelichli are actually turnips that are sculpted just like pumpkins for Halloween, but they hate the comparison with Halloween, so don't ever say that to them. But it really looks similar, okay? Those are lanterns out of turnips that are sculpted, and kids walk along the streets with those, and they sing also poems, and the more poems they are able to memorize, the more gifts they are due to have. All right, and let's wrap this quick world tour with our friends from Quebec, okay? And guess who influenced the Quebec traditions? The Americans, yes. Okay, we find the ham here again, the roasted ham, but the Quebec touch is with maple, of course, all right? So it's roasted ham with maple, le jambon glacé à l'érable, maple is érable. La tourtière du lac Saint-Jean, again, a savory tart packed with meat, just like you find in the Antilles. But this time they will add cranberries. Okay, very similar to the Thanksgiving tradition. And they call this la tourtière du lac Saint-Jean. So that's the tart from that lake Saint John, okay? La tourtière du lac Saint-Jean. And they have a specific tart, which is called le gâteau aux pacanes et au sirop d'érable. maple syrup again, and pacan is their word for noix de pécan. We call that pecan nuts, and in English we just say pecan. So basically it really looks like a pecan pie, right? With the maple syrup touch. Okay, so this is what happens in Quebec. Let me see if we have new questions. And yes, Judith mentioned that that may be pre-Christian. You are right. You are totally right. I think that the traditions in les Antilles are definitely influenced by the native people's traditions. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for this comment. Okay, guys. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining this presentation. And I want to give you a gift because it's the season, right? So let me get back to this. And first of all, let me say bravo, well done, okay? You went till the end of this presentation. If you enjoyed it and you would like to keep exchanging with me and learning French together, you can find me on YouTube, okay? I post lots of listening comprehension exercises and other helpful contents. It's called Learn to Speak French. So that's my YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram. My account is called Une Minute de Français, where I will start posting by January 1. That's my New Year's resolution. I will start posting every day a very short video for you to practice speaking French at least 1 minute a day, okay? And I also teach on Take Lessons, who's been sponsoring this webinar. And my profile name there is David M. Okay, and because this is through Take Lessons, the gift you get, petit cadeau pour toi, is a coupon if you sign up for lessons on Take Lesson. Okay, all right. So let me post in the chat box, maybe in the Q&A. Let me see where I can do this. I will share with you the link to for you to download this presentation and a recap also of the channels that I shared with you. So, okay, I will post this in the chat box. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. So you can download this webinar on the link that I just shared in the chat box. And you have a recap also of the YouTube, Instagram, and Take Lessons information. Thank you so much. See you soon for more French, and joyeux Noël and bonne année to everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.